Welcome back to the Kreg Craftsman YouTube channel. So glad to have you. This week's video, we're showing you how to make a tabletop. This is a tabletop for a client who just wants a new tabletop for existing table. It was made about 30 years ago, and she just wants a new top for it because she wants it to be bigger. So that's what we're doing. There'll be a few modifications we have to make to the base, but this is mainly about making the tabletop. So the first step in making your tabletops is getting a nice straight edge on your material for the glue up. Now this could be done multiple ways. You see here I'm using a joiner with a little support on the outfeed side of the joiner bed. And this method works, but if you have a board that is so warped, there are some other methods that you can use, especially when you're in a small shop like this, and we're going to talk about some of those problems. We're faced with a set of challenges I think a lot of small shops face, and that is the keyword small shop. Bed on the joiner that I'm using is 4 feet, and these are 8-foot long boards. And one edge on this is really, it's got a nice curve into it, and the joiner being as short as it is, isn't doing a great job of getting that out because the piece is so long. So what I'm going to do here is on the table saw, I'm going to screw this board to this board, which I know has a very straight edge. We're going to basically use this as a template or a guide piece. So we're just going to screw it on the ends. Boom, boom. It's going to be cut off, so I'm not worried about there being screw holes. But we're going to use this board to reference the fence from to get hopefully a straight cut. We'll see how that turns out. This table final dimension is going to be 40 inches wide and around 90 to 94 inches long. That'll be determined later. But yeah, small shop problems. Who can relate? I'm sure many of you can. Alright, but let's give this a shot. Well, that worked out pretty nicely. So yeah, there's a tip for you. If you need to join a board that is super long, maybe it's too awkward to handle on your joiner, which these kind of were. I was able to do it, but definitely it's easier on the table saw. Take a piece you know is straight, that is close to the length you need, and attach it, fasten it to that piece, run it through the table saw, and it should give you a pretty straight cut. So we're going to go ahead and do that to the other 2 boards that we got here, and then we'll start ripping them to widths and start the glue up. Alright, now we're going to use a biscuit joiner to help keep everything aligned during the glue up. So we'll throw a couple of these in there and then we'll start the glue up. So for me, biscuits are the easiest way to keep your boards aligned with one another during the glue up. I know you can use different methods, clamping calls, you could use dowels, but for me, I love using these biscuits. So I just spread the glue and come back and wipe it with my finger evenly on one side of the board. A lot of people like to glue both sides of each board. I personally have never had an issue with doing a nice coat of glue on just one side, so that's how I do it. And then we're going to come back and check everything with a straight edge, as you'll see in a second here, and adjust clamping pressure just to make sure everything's clamping flat. Alright, so this is dry. We're going to add another piece onto this and keep on rolling. Here is the glue up. We are getting the last piece glued on. You see again I was checking with that level there, not as a level, but as a straight edge, to see if I'm putting too much clamping pressure and adjusting the clamps accordingly. Because if you adjust the bottom clamps too tight, you're going to start to cup the whole table upwards, and if you tighten too much on the top, you're going to start to cup it down. So you want to be aware of that, and you don't have to really crank down on the clamps just to get it to where it looks and lays flat. and that'll be pretty much good. So with this glue up, as I went, the last board I adjusted as far as the width of the table, so we ripped it down to get pretty much close to our exact width that we need. Just because this is so large, and also the table saw here does not have a 40-inch ripping capacity. It only goes to like 30 inches, so that wouldn't be possible for us. So once this dries, we'll start the sanding process, and we're going to start installing the C-channel. So we're going to put C-channel on the ends of each end of the table. This is a 3 foot by 2 inch. It's 1/2 inch thick. This table is like a little bit less than 7/8 of an inch thick. So it's a pretty thin tabletop. And I want to just add this into it as a extra insurance policy of preventing the table from cupping and warping. It'll also be attached to the base of the table, so that is there to help too, to keep it flat. But I got this at Home Depot. I think Lowe's might have some, and maybe your other local hardware stores might have this. But we got to prep it first, so we're going to drill some large holes in it, a lot bigger than the diameter of our screws. Then we'll put the screw in with a washer over it, and that'll allow for movement in the wood as the seasons change while still keeping this flat. The next thing we're going to do is prep these, and then we'll continue working on the table. So I'm using some oil here just to kind of keep things cool and lubricated during the drilling process. I don't know if it's really necessary or not, but I've seen people do it, so why not? I don't work with metal too often. But I do know, never ever vacuum up hot metal shavings into a vacuum or dust collector unless you want to take a risk of starting a fire. That's something you may not think of, but wait for that metal to cool down before you go and vacuum that up. So now we're just trimming the top to its final length using this Kreg Track Saw. Now I'm not sponsored by Kreg or anything, but I have used the DeWalt Track Saws, and I honestly like the Kreg Track Saw better. It just feels like there's less slop when you're using it, and I like the track that comes with the Kreg version a lot better than the DeWalt Track. And you'll notice as I'm approaching the end of the cut here, I'm holding the fall-off piece. And this is so when you get to the end of the cut and the piece falls off, it doesn't tear out any of the wood. Alright, so we've got the table cut to length. We're going to use a card scraper to get the surface prepped here. You can see I've already started. And then we're going to put a round over across the whole top edge. And then we'll be ready to start finishing. So this is my first project using a card scraper on. I've never used one before. And I gotta say, I like it. It's a lot less dusty than sanding. And these card scrapers, I mean, I'm impressed so far. I've been looking for a replacement or a substitute to sanding whenever I can. And this seems like a pretty good deal. It's a little work on the hands, but it's a lot quieter and a lot less dust than sanding is. So far, I give card scraping 2 thumbs up. So I got the table here outside, and I'm routing out the area for the C-channel. I start with a big bit, and I am just going the thickness of the metal deep, and then I'm going to come back with a smaller bit and route along each of the long edges so that I guess the little wings of the C-channel or the vertical parts can go further into the table. So I went ahead and put a round over on the edge, and we've just been finished sanding it, getting prepped for stain. We've got our C-channel mounted in on each end. Now I'm just looking it over for any imperfections and getting it ready for stain. And you'll see here, I start to apply the stain, but yeah, it didn't go so well. It's a funny thing, the table looks a little different. That's because the stain after I put the first coat of finish on just looked awful. So I'm in the process of sanding everything back down and starting over with the finish. It's a little frustrating, but we gotta get it right. So yeah, that's what's been happening. I didn't document this whole process because it's kind of been annoying and frustrating. But we gotta give the best quality product we can give, and I know we could have done. I know we can do way better than it looked. That's why we are redoing it. So yeah, it's just a bunch of sanding, more and more sanding. So I'll get back to you after we have it stained again. And now we've got it back looking very, very good. A lot better than the first attempt of the stain. So we are going to wipe the first coat of finish on, and then the second coat, and the third coat, and the fourth coat, and the fifth coat. So yeah, let's get to that. We've got the finish applied to the table. I'm going to do a whole separate tutorial video on that coming out after this video, so be on the lookout for that. But now all that's left is fastening this table to the old base. Just had to make a new skirt board piece here. So we're going to go ahead and just install all of that, and then I'll show you how we're going to attach this table to this base. So yeah, let's get to it. So it's kind of interesting how this leg is attached here. The apron, the skirt of the table, the apron isn't, there's no attachment point that goes directly to the leg. So this is just a square cut here. And there's this little notch here that was made for that to then slide into, screw it tight, and then this bolt pulls. So then that bolt kind of just pulls the tension between the two pieces. I don't know if that's how we're going to do that, or if we're going to do it differently. But yeah, just kind of interesting how this was attached. Another few cool little details here. I don't know if you can see it. Rex Furniture Co. seems to be the company this was made by. And we got this date here, 295. So I'm thinking 1995 is when the original table was made. And yeah, that's pretty cool to be working on a table that's 30-something years old, and hopefully will last for 30 more years. And we are going to be reusing this old tabletop material. This client wants a bench made the same style, so we'll use that for the top of the bench to save them some cost and to keep the original wood that was in the project to begin with the set of furniture. So we're just about done disassembling everything, and we're going to start cutting our 2 apron boards and fastening to the table back the way they originally were, and then we will put the top on and be ready to deliver this table. So we're pretty much done. The last thing we need to do is fasten the table to the base. So we're going to be using these figure-8 style connectors, and let me show you how these work. Alright, so basically how these work is they sit on there like that, and because our table, the grain is running the long ways of the table, all of our expansion and contraction will happen within the width here. And so because of that, these mount here, and we'll do probably 3 on each end and 2 in the middle, and that allows the wood to then move along these points here like this. Now the wood movement total is probably honestly like 1/8 of an inch in the entire width of this table. So, you know, not crazy amount, but you definitely want there to be some relief in your project. So that will provide that for us. And that's going to do it for this table build. Super fun to do. The stain was a little bit stressful, but we ended up getting it right. and I think it turned out pretty darn good. We're going to be making a bench to match this table, same paint, same top and everything. So basically a scaled down version of this, and I'll do a video on that and show the base and how I'm going to make these legs. So we'll probably go into this paint job, how to do this weathered look. So yeah, be on the lookout for the tutorial on the finish I did for the top here. Super helpful. I changed my method to the method that I used here, and I definitely like this, and I think it's very easy to do. So be on the lookout for that video, and yeah, we're going to get this delivered to the customer. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe if you're not already. Helps out the channel a ton, means a lot. Comment below, do you like this red stain? It's pretty bold, and it's definitely growing on me. I think I definitely would have this piece of furniture in my house if it were mine. So super pumped with how it turned out. So let us know your thoughts below, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a good week.